One team that I think we have to start talking about is maybe potentially the best team in the NFL is the Green Bay Packers. After two tough matchups, week one with the Detroit Lions, week two this past Thursday against the Washington Commanders. It's definitely impressive of what they've done. Detroit going there now, of course, they are with two new offensive coordinators, with without having Aaron Glenn, without having Ben Johnson, but still having those great pieces offensively and defensively as well. They shut them out really. 27-13 was the score. Held both Jamari Gibbs and Montgomery to 44 total yards combined rushing, which is impressive. Same thing for Washington, too. They completely shut down the running game for that as well, winning that one 27-18. Going through the stats from that game, Jayden Daniels, 24, 42, 200 yards. Did have two touchdowns, 4 sacks, which I did put a small video out there saying that was key to the game, is getting at least 2+ sacks, and they did that, matched up to what they did against Detroit there. You look at some of the players they kind of shut down. McLaurin was only 5 of 48. Debo did get a touchdown, but 7 of 44. Running game not existent. Unfortunately, Eckler looks like he's going to be out potentially for the whole season. Only 8 carries, 17 yards. Daniels and Krosky-Merritt, same thing too. All of them had 17 yards each, and like I said, completely shut them down too. And you look at the stats thus far in 2 games for everyone. For Jordan Love, great so far, 66% completion percentage. 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. You look at Kraft, 8 catches, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, and everything else is almost similar to that. Everyone eats and tally like the Bills, even though they've done this more, earlier than the Bills have as of late. But it's very impressive offensively what they've done thus far without having, if I want to say that bona fide true number one wide receiver. Really just having a wide receiver by committee at that point, and then defensively too. I mean, really, they've played great thus far. Again, against 2 tough components in the NFC, and really going towards the Micah Parsons trade. That was fantastic, and I said it was amazing. Like a lot of people have said, it was, and I said that this really puts them over the top at being a Super Bowl contender. And again, thus far in 2, it's a very small sample size thus far, but in 2 games, they look like that. They look like they are really trying to rivaling the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles, as right now, to me, is still the Super Bowl favorites for this one, especially if you look at the NFC East, or so the NFC as of right now. But the Packers are slowly, as the weeks go on and they keep doing what they're doing, they are creeping up to the Philadelphia, and potentially week 10 for Philadelphia and the Packers facing each other on Monday Night Football. That could also be maybe a preview of that, or whoever wins that is not only the best team in the NFC, but potentially how the AFC looks with some of the faults with the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens, stuff like that. The Packers may look like the best team in the NFL, and this could be a early prediction, early sight into the future NFC Championship game for as well. And I look at the rest, the schedule leading up to Week 10. It's fantastic. Week 3, Cleveland. Week 4, Dallas. Micah Parsons' return. Week 6, Cincinnati. You might catch them because of just Cincinnati last few years always in slow starts, especially with that rough defense. You could take full advantage of that. Week 7, Arizona. Week 8, Pittsburgh. And this is going to be the first time that Rodgers faces the Packers since leaving there after 2023. If I have that right, 2022. Sorry. You have Week 9, Carolina. That should be easy, easier one, and then leading up to Philadelphia Week 10. And even after that, it's still very manageable. Giants, Vikings, Lions, Bears, Broncos, Bears, Ravens. Week 17, that could be a tough matchup too. And so that could be a tough matchup as well for them. That'd be interesting how they play against Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and then wrapping the season up with the Vikings. Their schedule is really manageable. It is set up for them to be one of the top teams in NFC and set themselves really well in the top seedings, potentially being the number 1, dare I say, or the very worst, the 2nd seed in this one. And again, there are some concerns offensively, at least for the wide receivers. You have Christian Watson, who is still out, being hurt at the end of the regular season finale last year with the ACL injury, and most likely won't be available until at the end of the season, or if not the playoffs. And even then, I don't know how effective he will be at that point. Jayden Reed, unfortunately, had the collarbone injury at the Thursday night game. I was reading some stuff. They said they hope that he can be back by November. So, but for the rest of it, you're going to have to. Some people are going to step up, like especially Matthew Golden. Golden didn't do anything in the Thursday night game. He was a first-round pick. He is explosive. Thus far in 2 games, I'm a little bit disappointed of how he's been, whether just scheming or on his part as well. Could be a combination of both, but I just want to see more and more of Matthew Golden really unlocking that speed, that deep threat that he brings to the table that they saw in the first round for that. But you still have Romeo Dobbs. You kind of leaning on the tight end more, but Tucker Kraft, who had a phenomenal game in that Washington Commanders game, over 120, well over 100 yards receiving in that one. I think close to 120 yards. Yeah, 6 catches, 24 yards and a touchdown. So it's certain players like that you're gonna have to lean on more. You have also to the rookie Savion Williams they took on a little bit later in the draft. That is kind of like that Swiss Army knife that may have a bigger role as well. Big body receiver, 6'4", 222. So, just some of these players are going to have to step up, especially, again, like I said, for Matthew Golden, I want to see what he brings to the table for this offense, and I think he can really, again, unlock something in the, even more for Jordan Love and what he's done thus far. Because, again, Love has played fantastic in 2 games. He's really, shown something completely different as opposed to last year when people were kind of criticizing him because of decision-making, turnovers, and so forth. But again, thus far, he's been impressive. He's 120 pass rating, 66 completion percentage, like you talked about, 480 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. He's only been sacked twice. So again, I really like the makings of the Packers here defensively. Again, going down the list there, what they have, especially with Micah Parsons. I think that was, again, a phenomenal pick. That's really them pushing the chips all on the table. They really gave up nothing, even though you get up Kenny Clark, which, unfortunate to lose. You lose someone like that long term, who's been with the team for longest, who's been certainly an anchor in that interior defense, but getting up there in age, 29 years old, the first round picks are not anything because this team truly believes that they are a Super Bowl caliber team that can go all the way in the win. So you'll be picking, from a Cowboys perspective, late 20s or dare I say in the 30s. So that's really absolutely nothing for Micah Parsons' caliber. And you saw week 1 how ecstatic the fans were when he made that sack, when he was out there just getting pressures, and you saw what he did against the Commanders. Didn't have anything in the stat sheet, didn't have a sack, but definitely was applying tons of pressure on Jayden Daniels. And again, that's why I said in my short video for the my prediction between the Packers and Commanders. He's well familiar with this team. Even though he's only played Daniel Jones twice last year because being a rookie, but he's still familiar with this team being in the NFC East, and it showed that he really was kind of like that pass rusher they've been looking for that they were a little bit missing last year in that regard. So again, from top to bottom overall, they may not have the best roster top to bottom, of course, with you want to say Baltimore with that one, Philadelphia still, I think just because of more just offensively what they have on the table with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon, Jalen Hurts, and so forth. Dallas got hurt, and he's going to be out for, I think, multiple weeks, they said. But again, for the Packers, they should really be considered, they should have a discussion of being the best team in the NFL right now. No question about that. And it's not really me going on the stretch saying that, but I think people need to talk about them more because, again, look at their schedule the next few weeks leading up to Philadelphia. They could potentially be undefeated. There's a realistic chance they could be 9-0 in this one. The 2 teams that may give them a tough battle in between that, if you want to pick one, is maybe Cincinnati, just because of the offensively with Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, or the Steelers because of just how they've, especially how that offense looked with a competent quarterback at Aaron Rodgers, and you hope that defense kind of, gets better as the weeks go along. But again, it's not unrealistic to say undefeated 9-0 leading up to Philadelphia, and who knows how Philadelphia looks. That could potentially be, even though I said in one of my videos, or not one of my videos, but I was thinking about, for the Bills and Ravens, the game of the year, this could potentially be up there as well. If the Philadelphia is, dare I say, maybe 9-0 or up so close to that range, and you have both these teams facing off Monday Night Football, absolutely, there's going to be huge thing on the table for seeding and so forth for the NFC, as well as just recognition in the NFL. So again, very interested to see how the Packers play out here for the next few weeks leading up to Philadelphia, even then afterwards, so very manageable in that one. It's more, suddenly a little bit, a lot more division games towards the end. But again, there's question marks with the Vikings. Even though the Vikings looked solid, you still have a rookie quarterback per se in J.J. McCarthy. Chicago is a little bit of a loose cannon so far. You don't know what you're getting. A little bit disappointing in their game as well for week 1 against Minnesota. How Caleb Williams looked, Ben Johnson in the second half, and so forth. Detroit, again, you kind of catch them again and still win there as well. We'll see what happens at that point, how the coordinators look. And, just overall, I think this is a massive, a huge huge win for the Packers' perspective for the schedule thus far. It sets them up again perfectly well going into the playoffs. So again, can't wait to see what happens next week at least, but especially more importantly, circle on your calendar week 4, Dallas, Micah Parsons return to at Dallas. Sorry, Micah Parsons return at Dallas in this one. Unfortunately for Rodgers, it won't be at Green Bay; it'll be at Pittsburgh for that game in week 8.